First weekend of the brand new Premier League season produced at least one goal. Didn't look as though it was going to at one stage there at Old Trafford tonight. Manchester City getting things underway, the champions at Burnley on Friday. That followed wins for Arsenal, Brighton, Fulham, Palace and significantly Newcastle. Two very entertaining draws on Sunday between Brentford and Spurs and Chelsea and Liverpool. And just, and only just, Manchester United have beaten Wolves by 1-0.
To be the real decision, we want him to make decisions on field. We've given that responsibility. And we only want the VAR to intervene if it's a clear and obvious error. Now, people say to me, what is a clear and obvious error? You know, if you think it's a penalty and I don't, is it a clear and obvious error? I think this falls into that bracket that he will see the ball going above the head, he will see the clash. You see the ball come in here, the player that he actually gets first, it's gone above his head. You know, the goalkeeper's looking for the ball, he's late, he catches him, there's no doubt about that. But I think the VAR's looked at that and he's sided with the referee, because if you look at the referee in the bottom of the picture there, he's got a clear view of it and he decides no foul. He sees where the goalkeeper's come from, he sees the distance he's travelled, he says no foul. And I think what he'll relay back to the VAR is, that's my view, that's what I've seen. The pictures show what he's seen and therefore the VAR doesn't intervene.
When you say the goalkeeper got lucky, you mean that it wasn't given on field in the first place?
Yeah, I think if it had been given on field, he couldn't complain.
Yeah.
And what about the threshold, Dermot, in terms of... So, quite evidently, I think most people think that's a penalty. Most people do think it's a penalty.
Yeah.
But are you saying that doesn't meet the threshold of a howler for then to be referred to for the referee to go to the side of the pitch and have a look at it again?
Yes, and I think Howard in his pre-season briefings was very, very clear on this. He says he's given the response to the referees. He wants them to be confident in themselves, in their ability to make good decisions on the field, to make positive decisions. And he only wants them to be sent to the screen if you say, well, that's an absolute howler. And I think, without doubt, Michael, you know, you think it's a penalty, I think it's a penalty, but it's not one that leap out and you go, this is an absolute howler.
Does it make any difference that it's literally in the last few minutes, it's a penalty, it's such a big moment? Does it make any difference in the context of the game? Does it not make any difference? Because that now, because it's so fresh in the memory, that is, as Steve said, going to be the headline everywhere. That is going to be spoken about everywhere around the world. Does that not play a part in it? To think, oh, we've got to get this one right. In fact, let's just go and have another look.
Well, I think wherever it comes, Michael, it's going to be a big decision, is it? Because the game's 1-0. And Wolves will argue with that decision going in their favour, it could be 1-1. You know, there's no guarantee they'll score a penalty, but it could be 1-1. So it's always going to be a big decision. I think with subjective decisions like this, that fall into that bracket of it doesn't meet the threshold that they want to be sent to the screen, that's where we are at the moment. You can't... I mean, Berber made a comment about it's such a massive decision, it's so late in the game. Why doesn't he just send the referee to have a look, you know, to check his decision? Well, that's not part of the protocol. He can't just go and say, well, look, I want to have another look at this. The referee gets one look, the VAR has to decide, has his look been good enough? Is it, as I say, the howl is the word we use. And I would say, I think it's a penalty, I think most people would, but I think it's what I call, it has to be an on-field penalty.
Yeah, but what is the point having a VAR then, if not to check for this type of situation where is a goal scoring opportunity late into the game, it's potential penalty? Isn't this the situation where VAR should check and intervene and help the referee in a way? Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, it all depends how you sit with the VAR, Berber, because we have a situation where IFAB and Howard himself have said, we don't want the VAR re-refereeing a football match. We don't want him saying, well, I need to go and check this, I need to go and check this. What they want is when you go to the screen, it's got to be impact. I'll give you an example. On Friday, there was a red card at Burnley. Now, without doubt, the referee gave a yellow card on the field. You look at the replay and you see it is a howler. There's no doubt about that. The studs are in the back of the calf. And everybody watching that replay would say, that's got to be a red card. So the VAR sends him then. And I think that's what they want, is them to sit. Now, the counter-argument to that, as you've said, is have they got it right or not? But it's not about getting it right or wrong. It's about redressing the balance. And you look back over the season, and if they get 70 changed that you think are going to be wrong, it's still a positive move for the VAR to be there.
No, I cannot agree. I think that when you have a goal-scoring opportunity, a penalty inside the box, the VAR should be there to help the referee, especially if it's in the 95th minute. And especially when, in my opinion, and we all agree is a penalty because he's hitting the other person, not the guy who's playing with the ball. But this way, hitting that player, he's preventing him to follow after with the ball and fight for the ball and maybe get the ball.
Dermot, does it have any impact whatsoever that the guy that got fouled, who got fouled there?
Kalajdzic,
That's
that
right.
Austrian international.
I knew it, I just couldn't pronounce it. Does it have any relevance that he didn't head the ball? He was actually irrelevant at the time because the ball had gone out of his area. So does that have any relevance? Because it's not like the ball was coming to him or he was about to head it. It was sort of already headed and it was going away from him when he got knocked out. Does that have any impact at all?
And that was my point earlier, Michael, that, you know, we talk about the incident and the consequence of the actions. And you're quite right, you know, the player went to head the ball first of all. It's actually gone above his head. It's actually Dawson who heads it, and he heads it back. He collides with the first player, who bumps into Dawson, we know that. But I think all them factors are taken into consideration, and that's why you and I look at it and we go, well, it's not a howler. We think it's a penalty, but it's one that the referee has to give on the field.
Dermot, thank you very much indeed for your time. That is one thing, Berber, that Wolves will talk about, obviously, but they will also go back to one or two gilt-edged opportunities at 0-0 that they didn't take. Matheus Cunha in particular, Berber.
And you know, this is the difference sometimes between good teams, big teams, small teams. When you have opportunity like this at Old Trafford against United, you need to take them. You need to take them. Otherwise, history repeats himself. And you know, when you don't play well, sometimes United manage to score, like was in this case later in the game when they score, even though they play terrible today. So when you have opportunity like this, when you're a small team, comparison to United in this case, you need to take the opportunity. It was not only this one. There was a couple of opportunities where you need to score it.
We keep using the word howler. That's a howler of a miss. That is a massive, massive miss. Miss of the season. I know we've only had one weekend, but that's the miss of the weekend so far. There's another big chance for Wolves. They had a lot of chances today, and as much as they will
Michael,
bemoan
they had 23 shots at Old Trafford. That's the second most against Manchester United since data began 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. So as much as they will bemoan their luck with a penalty, and rightly so, they can have a look at themselves in the mirror and think, wow, how have we not scored from all of these chances? And you don't often get those stats at Old Trafford from an away team that actually, you know, a lot of people are tipping to go down as well. Well, they've made people think again, I think, after today. Look at the shots there. Unbelievable amount.
Yeah. Twice as many shots on target as Manchester United at home as well. More touches in the opposition box. But ultimately, United put the ball in the back of the net at a stage where none of us could really see them doing so, Berber.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, the goal was a simple one. You know, it's a simple cross in the box, a great pass from Bruno Fernandes to Wan-Bissaka. And then after that, it's just simple chipping of the ball in the box. And luckily, Varane was there with his height to head it and correct his earlier miss in the first half. And they needed that, United. They played bad, but in the end of the day, as I said, sometimes you have games like this and you need to manage to score one goal and take the 3 points.
That's a lovely little goal, that is. Yeah. I mean, this from Bruno Fernandes is just pure class. You know, someone with that vision, with that courage to play that type of ball. Wan-Bissaka just lifts it into the danger zone, and of course there'd just been a corner moments earlier. Varane was still up, still loitering in the box. They overloaded at the back post. And it was a good goal to win the game.
OK, United have won. You would imagine that relief is the overriding emotion for their manager, Erik Ten Hag.
Erik, how do you assess the performance and the win?
Really pleased with the win, of course. And it was a fight. And so welcome back in the season. We know we have to fight for our points. And on the ball, it wasn't a great game, our side. But so we had to fight, and we have to find a way to win, and that's what we did.
Did Wolves surprise you with the way they came at you?
No, you see, when you see the performance in the spring, when you see the performance during the preseason, when you follow that, it's a good team, and we know we have to give everything in to get the points, and luckily we succeed, and we're happy with that.
What would you have liked to have been better about the performance?
Especially on the ball, we can be much better and much more calm. We gave too much easy giveaways, especially our front players. That was not good. But you have to get into the season, and we will improve on that fact.
Wolves seem to have some runners through the middle as well that caused a lot of problems. Is that something you look at?
As well. When you easy giveaways, then you give them the opportunity to counter. And then you have to follow. But I think we matched the runs and we dealt with it. The clean sheet, that tells everything. And that we have a win here in Old Trafford. We have a clean sheet, which is good. So we played well organized. Now we have to be better on the ball.
Was the message at half-time that you needed to be patient if you're going to break them down?
The message, be more calm, more composed, get more switches in, get between the lines. We had moments between the lines, and when we got that, we get dangerous situations where we cause them problems. But if we easy giveaways, then it's what you're telling me just, then they break. And then you have to match the runs, and then you lose a little bit control in the game.
Would you have liked to have seen more creativity? It was a nice piece of creativity for the goal, but would you have liked to have seen more throughout?
Yeah, we didn't come to that factor because we gave too easy the balls away. And then you don't come to creativity.
And there was a huge moment at the end with the VAR decision. What was your view of that?
Yeah, it's difficult. Ball in, I think really brave, come out. And the ball was touched before Andre dived in. So I don't think he had an influence on that touch from the opponent. It was a penalty scene. The VAR judged it, and it was on our side. So we're happy with the points.
Well, thanks for your time, Erik.
You're welcome.
I'm sure he is. So they do get that clean sheet in the end that he was talking about on Andre Onana's Premier League debut. And actually, he was called upon to make some saves as well, Berber, wasn't he, the new goalkeeper?
He did. He, I think, overall had a good game, with the exception of the 95th minute. But overall, especially after United scored a goal, they had Wolves two great opportunities to score, and Onana was there to save the day. I think he was going to be pleased with his official first game for United. Of course, the season is long, so let's hope a lot of clean sheet will follow after this game.
Yeah, I mean, we went into the game thinking, can't wait to see his feet, how good he's going to be playing out, the risks he takes, but it was actually a lot of saves that was the headline today. I must say, though, I don't think there was any saves there that you wouldn't expect him to make. They were all savable saves, let's say. And but he did everything well.
Yeah. Good positioning
until that 95th minute when there was a bit of a rash decision. But on the whole, he'll be delighted with the clean sheet, and he'll be surprised that he was so active though today. I mean, with all those shots on, and I know Erik Ten Hag says, "Oh, it's great to keep a clean sheet." Well, it was not because they defended well. I mean, they had dozens of shots at them, so it was. I think they got a little bit of luck with Wolves' bad finishing as well.
But as you just said, when you're not playing well, particularly to start the season with a fine margin sometimes in the Premier League, it was just all about the win for Manchester United.
Yeah, and we've been there, Michael. Right? You have a first game of the season, you're still a bit rusty, maybe tension is there, and you have a bad game, but. At the end of the day, it's about the 3 points to start on the right foot. Now everybody will be happy, and this game is going to be forgotten straight away. But it's important tomorrow in the training ground, maybe now into the dressing room, Ten Hag to use the right words and say, listen, that was not a good game, but we got what we needed, the 3 points, right? But let's build on top of that. Otherwise, we're going to suffer if we continue to play like this. And the running through the middle of the park today that we saw for some of the Wolves players, well, it's worrying. If you let opposition running so easily through the middle of the park, you're going to have a problem, especially against big teams.
That was one debutant Onana. Mason Mount didn't complete the 90 minutes, 68 minutes. Much more to come from him.
Oh, much more to come from the whole team, Steve. But yes, Mason Mount, I mean, he put himself about, he worked hard. Not an easy game. I mean, it just felt like Manchester United they just weren't at it today, right the way through the team. I can't really name a player that played really well. Probably the goalkeeper would be the one player that you take out of it. But I don't think there's a worry about Mason Mount. You know what you're going to get. He's a very, very solid player, very capable player. He's got to get used to his teammates as well. But I just think that Manchester United were rusty today, and they'll get better and better.
Back to that big talking point at the end. Speaking to Sky Sports, here's the opinion of the Wolves boss, Gary O'Neill.
Yeah, so I thought live that it was a penalty. I thought it looked like the goalkeeper almost took our centre forward's head off, was what it looked like live. And when I watch it back, it looks the same. So really surprised. I think it's a foul. I think if you go for the ball and you clatter into an attacking player that hard, I think it has to be a foul. But I'm not overly surprised, to be honest, that we didn't get it. As he jogged over towards us, I thought he might be going to the screen, and it turns out he booked me and not Onana for smashing into our centre forward.
Quite a good line, that. At least he's still got a little bit of humour. But yeah, I must admit, when I saw him jogging over, I thought, is he going to the screen now? But no, it was just to book the Wolves manager for remonstrating. So, and we've seen a little bit of that as well in the opening, parts of the season. Lots of yellow cards for things that the referees said they're going to clamp down on. So they're sticking to their word. But no, I think this argument will rumble and rumble, Steve. I think we all thought it was a penalty. It's just how much of a penalty you think it was.
And given the 5 days, and given it was at Old Trafford, and once his frustration boils down maybe tomorrow, there'll be a lot of positives for him to take from his team tonight. Gary O'Neill. Well,
for sure, because as we said, and we saw how many shots Wolves takes today, they were unlucky not to score. So United were lucky not to concede. And overall, that performance was good. As Michael said, people will be surprised how well they played today, and maybe they're going to pay more attention to Wolves. Now, the Premier League is a marathon. You cannot judge a team by the first game. So if they continue on this way, Wolves, I think they'll be okay in the Premier League. But as I said, a lot of games to come, a lot of football to be played, and in my opinion, still they'll have problems. But today is optimism for their team.
Yeah. And United go to Spurs next, which will be a stronger test.
Absolutely. Spurs created a lot of chances themselves this weekend, scored a couple of goals. If Manchester United is so lax at the back again, then that could be a really high-scoring game.